Welcome, everyone, to our The Road Home series presented by GMC. They're such an important ally at the intersection of HBCU culture, consumerism, lifestyle, and business. As we are celebrating the spirit of cultural capital, community, and connectivity during this year's HBCU homecoming season, all across the country. My alma mater, Hampton University, just had theirs and it was pretty lit. So for everyone joining us in the audience today, please know that you are the key to really athletes becoming investors beyond the HBCUR, where a lot of them start. So thank you for not only being with us right now, but for joining us in the work ahead. For those who don't know, I am Corey Hale, the co-founder and CEO of Culture Banks, and we're going to discuss athletes who have become investors along with fund managers, addressing the systemic issues and solutions for Black founders, all of whom are committed to equity and inclusion along the road to success. With that in mind, folks, let's jump right into our conscious conversation around homecoming with Black athletes as investors. Some of our great panelists today, we're going to kick it off with Tyreek Moore, who has been an entrepreneur and a trailblazer since 2006. Hard to believe because he looks so young, but he is also a partner at former NBA All-Star Baron Davis Enterprises, also the CEO of You Wish and the Black Santa Company. And he is the founder of TJT Consulting Services. Yes, he does all of those jobs at the same time. Tyreek has been passionate about closing the equity gap for the greater part of his life. And prior to joining Baron Davis Enterprises, he served as the chief operating officer to one of the largest non-network charter schools in New York State, all in an effort to provide superior educational access to underprivileged children. And joining Tyreek Moore, we are fortunate to have Travis Henry with us, who is the co-founder of True Capital's Culture Fund, a venture investment fund dedicated to identifying, funding, and supporting the world's most talented Black entrepreneurs. He also serves on the investment committee at True Capital, a global wealth management firm that specializes in guiding diverse clients across sports, entertainment, and entrepreneurship to financial security and generational wealth, something we love to talk about here at Culture Banks. But before Travis got into that, he was part of a multi-family private wealth management team within Morgan Stanley with assets under management exceeding $10 billion. And even before that, he supported NFL certified agents in the football division of CAA's Creative Artist Agency. Big welcome to you, Ty, and of course to you, Travis. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to have you both. With that in mind, we're going to get into the questions. I'm going to kick it off here with you, Travis, because True Capital's Culture Fund, it really does sit squarely in the center of investing and culture among major athletes and celebrities. How do you all leverage this relationship to create meaningful impact across the broader entrepreneurial ecosystem?
So I think that's a great question. It's, ownership is a really important part of the conversation when you think about wealth building and generational wealth. And one thing that our community has lacked is we've created a lot of value to society, but we typically don't own most of the endeavors that we help support, launch. So there are other people that get to participate in all of that upside and growth. We want to flip it on its head. So, over the last 15 years, we've been helping athletes, entertainers, first generation wealth, young people that are folks of color, to not only help give them the guidance, the structure, the education to help them manage their newfound wealth, but also thinking deeply about how we can align capital with their values. And so our thought process was, if we have this pool of capital that's been assembled by really the culture, by our Black and brown heroes, how can we think bigger picture about supporting the up and coming entrepreneurs that are coming behind them and helping to give them liftoff? So the way that we think about leveraging their platforms, it's really celebrities have financial capital, but more powerful than that, they have social capital, which is actually the social media platforms that they have and the microphones that they carry has tremendous impact and ripple effects for up and coming entrepreneurs that are super talented, but don't necessarily have the budgets, the access, the resources to really get their platforms out there as they think about going to market. So as we invest in companies, we've been thinking creatively about how we can align our clients with the founders that we're backing to leverage their social media to actually promote and support the work that they're doing. So not only getting ownership in these companies and becoming, with that investment, getting a piece of ownership in that company and participating in the growth, also being advocates for those companies and finding the ones that really align with their values to get more involved.
Travis, you guys are doing great work over at True Capital's Culture Fund. And Ty, I know that you have been focused really on this intersection, the one that Travis and I are speaking about, even long before, what you're currently doing. So lately, though, we have seen a surge of business and organizations really coming online to support underrepresented founders. Can you just tell us about the unique space that Baron Davis Enterprises operates in and the actual long-term impact that culture plays in this business?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Baron really focused on from before his playing days, during his playing days, he actually fired his agent by his second year, became his own agent, and allowed that word agent to veer into the extended part of the word agency, right? And grant agency to the players, right? In order to create the level of equity that's really needed inside of the sport. So many of his teammates and friends and athletes, he was able to learn the game inside the game, and support them as well. So after his playing days, he really dedicated a lot of what he was doing to creating equity. So inside of Baron Davis Enterprises, there's four main internal portfolio companies with the common thread through all of them being equity, right? Creating cultural equity, creating access, creating opportunity. And with that being said, the companies that exist under there's Business Inside the Game, which is the investment vehicle where we invest in many underrepresented, marginalized founders and innovators so that they could have the level of notoriety, the level of access, the level of support, and economic investment needed in order to be successful and to bring their dreams to fruition. We have Slick, which is our OTT platform where we really empower diverse creators to really monetize their creations, monetize their work, their art, and really allow them to play inside of this and experience a lot of the upside that Travis was just referring to. We have You Wish, which is our multicultural multimedia studio. That's the studio that that's the brand that owns the IP for Black Santa. And really what the goal here is to do is to remediate the misrepresentation of multiculturalism across all these different spectrums. One of the things that we say inside of You Wish, our motto, is your story is your superpower. Right? Because many times people from marginalized communities and underrepresented cultures, they're made to believe that their story is something to be ashamed of, when in fact that story is one that creates superpowers of resilience and perseverance and all of these things, fortitude, right? And then we have our Web3 studio, MTU, again, stands for More Than Us, and it's really created to be a place where we nurture and incubate diverse, multicultural Web3 creators so that they could have the level of support, the level of resources necessary to bring their ideas to fruition. So as you see in all of that, there is a vein that, the blood courses through, and that blood, that source of that blood is we're trying to do whatever's necessary in all of these different areas to create opportunity, to create equity, and to reduce, the opportunity and access gap that exists.
Yes, it definitely is. And because both of you guys work with, high profile individuals, a lot of people, right, with deep pockets, we can't continue this conversation without talking about the important role that wealth plays in our society, especially that economic status. But one of the main ways that people create wealth, right, is from building a business that involves perhaps some type of large exit at some point. And you can look at that in a multitude of ways across sports, across entertainment. But I just want to tell you guys this factual information from the Peterson Foundation that found among college educated households, white families had a net worth of $360,000, Latinx families, $73,000, and Black families came in with a net worth of only $68,000. So I want to hear from both of you on this. How important is it to put more founders in a position to raise millions of dollars as a proponent of closing the wealth gap, whether that be, from first-time Black and brown athletes and entertainers that have just acquired their wealth? Who wants to take that one on?
Yeah, I can jump in and speak to it a little bit. I think it's an important part of the solution for attacking the wealth gap. I don't think it's the only solution or the sole solution for attacking the wealth gap. Becoming in my day-to-day, I work with the winners oftentimes, right? So it's harder to, and as an entrepreneur yourself and building a company, how hard it is, the both of you, in that process. I worked at a startup prior, and I realized I'm better as an investor than a startup operator. And it's harder to get product market fit and raise a Series A in the startup world than it is to get drafted to the NBA. So when you are thinking about entrepreneur, what's important is ownership, and you can get ownership through a variety of ways. You can get ownership through starting your own company and using your sweat equity to create something of value and then monetizing that value. And then the trick is, how can I preserve, sustain, and maintain that for generations? And that becomes the hardest part, is getting that initial injection of capital. And then you have to sustain, maintain afterwards. There's also this idea of just investing, saving, investing. And it's something that we talk to our clients all the time about, is you got to pay yourself first. Oftentimes in our community, we tend to give to everybody else before we give to ourselves. And it's not just financial, it's our spiritual, emotional, we got family, people that we want to support. So when you get into business, it becomes difficult, where some of us are born on second base and most of the folks that look like us are born in the parking lot. The ability to leverage better access, better resources to create. It's like, find a skill that you can be the best that you can be at, leverage that to create wealth, use that wealth to invest, to get ownership in things that produce cash flow and income for you to sustain yourself for life. That's the trick to the generational wealth game. It's easier said than done. But if you have the same discipline and courage that it takes to be an entrepreneur and a founder, that same approach that the athletes have in becoming less than 1%. Baron Davis, the things that he had to do behind the scenes for his entire life and not get paid for it before he finally begun to get paid for it. It's important for us to make sure that we are equipped and educated, and we think about wealth building more as a community than as like a one-off. We need to see more partnering and collaboration in our community in order to really create generational wealth at a bigger scale. So I think, to your question, entrepreneurship Entrepreneurism is one important facet of attacking the wealth gap, because if there are more Black billionaires, we have more collective purchasing power. We have the ability to change things with our dollar, because dollar is power, money is power, right? But with that being said, there's also this broader, I think about things as ecosystems and platforms. There are broader things that need to be done around like we need more Black engineers. We need more Black STEM focus. Like we need a bottom-up approach that brings better resources. So one of the goals we have at Culture Fund is we've made a pledge that we're going to partner with industry tech firms and business leaders to provide better resources at the grassroots level for things as simple as, let's go to Compton and let's make sure that every middle school kid has a laptop. Just something as simple as that can really have a downstream impact just because of the level of access that you can get with being online and just having the ability to search and explore.
Ty, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's vitally important to support founders from underrepresented and marginalized communities and realizing their dreams of financial independence, which inevitably creates a domino effect of access and opportunities, just like Travis just said, for these same communities. Obviously, we do this inside of business and inside the game, which I just told you about. We create necessary connection to capital resources for these amazing founders. I'm also an advisor to Dear Mama Ventures, which is looking to flip venture on its head, very similar to what Travis is doing. What Dear Mama Ventures is a venture platform dedicated to closing the ecosystem and capital access gap for underestimated founders, right? So there are these players in the game that are getting in, not solely for themselves, but to really pay it forward and to create impact for other folks. I'm also a cohort mentor for Pharrell's Black Ambition Prize program. And their mission is to reduce barriers to capital for Black and brown entrepreneurs by bridging the wealth gap.
I'd say that to just quickly add to that point, Ty, I completely agree with you. I think that it's important for the next generation to see people that look like them operating at a high level in business, and that they can look to themselves and say, oh, I want to be like Ty. I want to be like Corey. I don't have to rap or sing or hoop. And it's great if you have those God-given talents, more power to you. But from an economic standpoint, for people that aren't Black, that are thinking about investing in Black, like, we're not charity. We have the level of innovation that comes from our community is second to none. Black innovation is just one of the most undervalued assets on the planet. But when I'm with the work that we all are collectively doing, we're actually supporting founders that are solving local problems that impact our community that have global scale. And that in itself creates value for society at large, as you bring in not only people from diverse backgrounds, but also diversity of thought, diversity of experience, diversity of knowledge. There's something really interesting in there. And I'm really excited about some of the things that I'm seeing at the grassroots level that are ready to take off.
I love what you just said, Travis. I'm sorry, Corey, I just want to jump in one more thing. I love it because what he said was just, so salient, right? What's absolutely necessary in order to create the innovation, and that's what really struck me from what you just said, Travis. We have to be willing to take chances. We have to be willing to bet on ourselves. Now, if you're betting on yourself, you better darn well be prepared for that moment, right? So we have to operate to the highest level of efficacy in whatever it is that we're doing, right? So if you're in the space of engineering, go to the next level with it. Be the best engineer that you could be. If you're in the space of medicine, if you're in the space of law, if you're whatever it is, if you're you're vending, right? And I'm creating these shirts, or I'm doing something in that space, whatever it is, do it to the highest possible level that you can, and then bet on yourself, right? Take a chance. It's impossible to innovate if you're always trying to cooperate, right? So you have to be willing to break the mold a bit.
All right, guys, this is the one last question we're going to wrap up for this particular section of the conversation. It's going to go out to both of you because we got to take a trip on the road home. Now, I will say for our audience right now, full disclaimer, both of these are Ivy Leaguers. They didn't ever come to an HBC yard. Maybe it's something that they missed out on.
No, I was definitely on an HBCU yard.
You know that.
Okay, while they were in between Harvard and Yale, they had time to come over to an HBCU. But I want to pose this question. When you think back, though, to your college days, what do you wish you knew back then about kind of this idea of athletes and entertainers becoming investors, and much more the way that we see now. And I don't want to date myself, but back in the day when I was at Hampton University, like that wasn't something that was talked about as much, or you only had like the super popular big names. But now it seems like this is something that everyone in these fields is getting into.
Well, honestly, it extends past the athletes to me, right? I wish, back then in our day, right, Corey? I wish I would have had the foresight and guidance, right, to begin approaching life as an entrepreneur and sharing that perspective with my athlete and non-athlete friends, right? At that time, we really didn't give proper credence to the importance of social and political capital. Even if we were devoid of financial resources, understanding then monetizing your brand and network is something I share with high schoolers now that I mentor and I work with. Then you can flip that into all sorts of investments, particularly in areas that you're passionate about, right? You have to regard yourself as a business from day one. That's why one of my favorite lines from Jay-Z, he says, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man. Now let me handle my business." Damn, right? We have to look at ourselves as a business and then understand that there's branding with your business so that when you're putting stuff out on social media, when you're representing yourself out in the street, when you're doing all of these things, you will do so through the prism of a business, and your engagements and your interactions and your investment externally and internally will shift if you do it with that approach and that perspective in mind.
Travis, really quickly before you answer, what you wish you knew back then, I forgot to say at the beginning that Ty is also an investor. I know I've been talking about Travis being an investor, but I know that Ty also invests in companies, maybe a bit more on the angel investing side, but he's got his hands in all sort of different pots. All right, Travis, sorry, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, I think I wish I knew the rules to the game, right? I think, as Ty mentioned before, one of Baron Davis's companies called Business Inside the Game, and he has this real thesis around, oftentimes we are outsiders looking in. And if we had the playbook and had the resources and guidance and the mentorship, we can learn how to do things on our own without having to give up a ton of what we've built in exchange for learning the game, right? And that's what oftentimes, like, I wish that I knew. I was fortunate enough that I was at a place and I had people around me that looked out for me, and I had an outlier experience for sure. So every day I think about what can I do to build a bridge for the next generation to help others that didn't get the same opportunities that I had. For early stage founders, if you have a great idea, but you don't have the capital for that idea, there is a place for you. There are accelerators like the HBCU Black Ambition Prize, which time I'm happy that you joined. I remember the early days of that when we were getting that idea off the ground. To see where it is now is pretty special. But creating pipelines so that founders can access the capital they need to quit their day jobs and focus on building their dream and their vision, and then providing a real ecosystem to support and give them the opportunity to have liftoff. There's Y Combinator for tech. There are 500 startups. There's a number of places that have been built for early stage innovators that don't have the capital to get things off the ground, but you can apply for these programs. And if you get accepted, you can get anywhere from 100,000 to $500,000 at Y Combinator just for getting accepted into the program. And then those places will introduce you to people like me so that I can help take you to the next level.
See, there we go. All the information that we wish we would have known back in the day. Guys, it is now time to go into one of my favorite Culture Bank segments, the rapid fire segment. All I need is the first answer that comes to your mind. With that, we're ready to go. Travis, we're going to kick off this rapid fire section with you. Your first question: what motivates you to keep going and why?
It's just too important for the culture. I'm trying to build a world that my younger version would be able to benefit from, and my kids can benefit from. That's what I'm building today.
All right. I'd love to hear that. Tyreek, next over to you. What are 3 skills people need to become successful entrepreneurs?
I would say those 3 skills are passion. You have to be passionate about what it is that you're doing. Resilience, because you're going to have to overcome and persevere. And discipline. You have to be disciplined in order to stick to it, stick to the game plan, and not waver.
All right, Travis, back to you. What time of day are you most productive?
I'm most productive in the mornings. I like to get up early, even though I'm a night body. I can stay up late, but in the mornings, before the hustle and bustle starts, that's a great time to think about the most important things that I need to get done that day, including the things I need to do for myself. So being able to set those priorities, no matter what happens for the rest of the day, that the most important things have been taken care of.
All right, Ty, back to you. What is your favorite life hack that you use?
All right, you're going to be upset with me, but I'm going to give you 2, not 1. First one is anything you can do in 5 minutes or less, do it right now. Do it right now. Because what that does, right, is it staves off the massive things that builds up later. And what that does is it creates a feeling of overwhelm. That overwhelm paralyzes you and it impacts everything else that you're doing. You create much greater efficiency in your life if you can knock out those quick things really early, really quickly, so that you can spend more focus and more energy on the bigger things. So that's number 1. And number 2, and I literally do this for all decisions that I make, I do a cost reward analysis. For big or small, cost reward analysis. What that does, right, is it takes the emotion out of decision making. It allows you to deal with the facts that you have, at hand, and allows you to be really thoughtful in what it is you're doing. And typically, you'll live without, as many regrets as you can live with.
Wow. I'm trying to think, what was the cost reward analysis you gave yourself for doing this session today? But we can talk about that at a later time. But I am thinking, what did he say about this Culture Banks Day? All right, Travis, back over to you. What is the one app that you cannot live without?
One app that I cannot live without. It would be my calendar. Calendar app. It literally runs my life to the point where I make appointments with myself, because as we could, that's the other part of being an entrepreneur versus working for a company, is it's all on you. And it can sometimes feel like a 24/7, 7-day gig. So you leveraging your calendar to create better energy and flow for yourself is why, my calendar app is the thing I live and die by.
All right, Tyreek. And I feel like this next question, because I know Ty, is going to be a hard one. What is the one book that changed your life?
One book?
I know. See, I knew it was going to be a challenge. You're like, one, like you talking about one book in the last month?
Disclaimer to everyone who listens or watches this, I'm a bit of a nerd. So, but the one book, all right, the most recent of the life-changing books, and maybe not the most recent, but the one that had the greatest impact, Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. It talks about the connection between the subconscious and the conscious, right? And that we're able to actually manifest anything because the conscious impresses onto the conscious impresses onto the subconscious what the subconscious is supposed to express into the world, and this whole exchange is triggered by feeling. So if you feel something so deeply, it creates this inertia that drives this process, and you can literally create things that's never happened before. And that's how you can be an innovator and a game changer and a trailblazer and all of these different things.
Like I said, I knew Ty wasn't going to be able to give us a short answer or just one book.
That's a terrible question for a short answer.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. I know it was going to be difficult. See, look, Travis is just laughing at you because, like, I knew that was hard.
Hey,
when you threw that question at me, he laughed immediately.
I'm just
all right. This is the final question, because Culture Banks were all about the intersection of business news and hip hop culture. I have to ask, what song is currently on repeat on your playlist?
Try.
I got Migos Made Man playing heavy today. Today's a good day for that.
All right, on over to you, Ty.
Well, I don't know if it's the whole song. It's really not, but it's Jay-Z's verse on DJ Khaled's song "God Did."
Yeah.
That brought, like, I had to replay. I mean, it's been a while since I've had to replay a verse back to back to back, but Hove did.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, there we have it. I cannot thank you both enough for joining this Culture Banks and GMC, the road home conversation, and bringing your wisdom, bringing your insights. You don't know how many people and how many lives you can change by tuning into this conversation and listening to this. So from the bottom of my heart and our broader Culture Banks team, thank you both so much for joining us. And for everyone out there watching right now, this is not going to be it. We will be back with more sessions, more conversations with some of the dopest people in the game. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this conversation, and we'll see you all next time.